What's up, guys? I'm Chad Brock.
And I'm Zach Bailiff.
You guys are listening or watching the Orion podcast. Welcome, everybody. Episode 10. We made it. Happy anniversary, dude.
10 episodes in. Yeah.
10 episodes in. We've made it this far. And, it's been good, man. You've been out jeeping.
Still waiting for the old hook to come inside stage and just yank us off here, but it ain't happened yet.
If they was going to do that, they'd have got us both last weekend. One foul swoop, if you will.
Yeah.
Pulling my hat the wrong way, trying to look at it. Everything's backwards.
Yeah, we got the Jeep out last weekend. Finally got it on the trail. Got a little mud on it. Got the ordered some L-track brackets and got the Orion 35 strapped down on the back deck and kept the drinks iced down all day. But it was good. It was a fun trip. It was good to finally get out and hit the trails for the summer.
The Orion podcast, the cooler podcast, telling even cooler stories, if you will, brought to you by Jackson Kayak. You got the Earth Day cooler back there, though. It's looking fancy. I mean, our background's kind of match. It's except for I got a duck.
Yeah, there you go. The 55 is a little big for the back deck of the Jeep, so the 35 sit up there pretty good. It's up there airing out right now. It had a 8-pound pork butt in it Friday night, and then got ice in it Saturday morning. So
there you go. And that's all you need, man. That's all you need. It look good back there on the back of the Jeep. If you want to see if you want to see Nomad and see the Orion attached to the back of it, check out the Orion Instagram and Facebook page where you can see that photo.
Yeah. Just had some new straps come in to improve how that all straps down back there, but we got her dialed in, I think.
Not a bad rigging job, even if it is a Jeep and not kayak. It's still a good rigging job. No rail tracks, not yet.
No, L tracks, not T tracks, just L tracks.
So for episode 10, we're kind of bringing in the big guns.
Yeah,
got a special guest, very special guest. He's an individual that is currently sharing his faith through the Fisherman's Fellowship out on the trails. I'm not going to say which trail because he's fishing all of them. He's a family man. He's a kayak fishing legend. Whether he wants to say it or not, we're going to just go ahead and dub it. He's got something that nobody else can ever have. He's a legend in winning the national championship at Kentucky Lake. So that was the first one. Guy I'm proud to call teammate over at Jackson Kayak. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Ball. You have to excuse the button. The fans like it.
Hey,
well, and I'm not there to yank it away from him this week.
He thought he was going to get it last week, and he was in the same room as me, and I've sent him back to Pennsylvania, so he can't get it.
Yeah.
That was really loud in my earbuds.
I'll hold it further away. My microphone.
It's even louder when you're sitting. It's even louder when you're sitting next to it.
Amazon did good with that button. Let's just put it that way. So, Matt, how's wonderful Ohio tonight?
It's cooling down finally. It's been hot. I haven't been here I just got back last night from Champlain. It was beautiful weather up there, nice and cool, and come back down here, come home to the real world, and back to work. It's smoking hot. We got bad storms last night, and a lot of trees down around here. But it's hot, but it's cooling down this evening. So sitting out here on the deck, looking over this beautiful Ohio farmland out here.
There you
Love
go.
it out here.
Yeah. Great view.
That's better than my backdrop tonight for sure.
Big buck
mine
paradise
too.
back here.
And we've seen some of those big
Yeah,
bucks
well,
there every
let
now
me
and
know
then
if you
pop
need
up
some
on
help over
Facebook.
there. We'll bring the Hoyt.
There's some. I don't know. I'm a Matthews guy.
Oh.
That's just because you haven't shot one yet. So that's
Actually, I've shot them all.
yeah. It's hard to pick up a bad one these days.
There ain't a bad one anymore. Nope, there's not.
No.
A lot of time and quality go into a lot of good products these days, and
Oh my, yeah. We're
that
really
is a good
lucky
thing.
right these days with all the equipment we're using out there. There's just good stuff for all your needs.
Absolutely. Now, you just mentioned you just got back from Champaign last night, but let's not go there yet. Let's tell the Matt Ball story and kind of let the people at home know how did Matt Ball come to find fishing, the outdoors, hunting, everything that encompasses what you love about being outside.
Well, I've always been an outdoors guy. Grew up on a farm, grew up in the country. My dad bass fished, did tournament bass fishing. Fished. I've been in a bass boat or some form of a boat since I was, old enough to set up on my own. So fishing is always, and the outdoors have been, what I do. So it's what I love. It's what makes me happy. So, but yeah, I grew up in Grafton, West Virginia, and did a lot of fishing, hunting, camping, hanging out with my friends when I got older, getting into trouble in the woods and on the river banks and floating down rivers and whatever we could find, and spending all night on the riverbank fishing for catfish or whatever we could do. So I grew up with a lot of great influences in the outdoors that I spend a lot of time with. So It's just what I love. So
nice. And like I said, not only are you a bass fisherman, you like to pull the trigger on a few nice deer from time to time.
I love to bow hunt. Archery season is right up there with tournament season. And actually I kind of say this jokingly, but it's not. I'm always going to claim to be a West Virginian, but I moved to Ohio for the deer hunting. So we've got a little farm here that I can shoot deer on, and there's some really big deer in this part of Ohio. So I really enjoy kind of following those and picking them and looking at them and figuring out what I want to go for.
Well, and as much as you're on the road fishing and that being what it's become for you, I mean, deer hunting's kind of probably a nice break, a good mental vacation.
Yeah, until the last couple years, I mean, the national championship used to be in the spring, and then the Hobie series came along, and I started fishing a lot of it. And their tournament of champions, which I've been fishing the last 3 years, is it happens unfortunately right around the first week in November. And if anybody that knows anything about deer hunting knows what the first week in November means, it's hard to get away, hard to step away from deer hunting for that, but it's worth it. But yeah, I've once tournament season's over, it's all hands on deck for deer season. So, and usually I don't do a lot of fishing between events. Once the leaves turn, I'll take a break and go to a tournament. But if I'm home, I'm fishing. I'm in the tree stand or hanging stands, checking cameras, or doing any of that stuff. So,
right,
that's what I want to do. So,
yeah, it's easy to go do it when that's where you want to be.
Absolutely, and that's a good way to be. And we talk about kayak fishing. I mean, man, you've kind of been you've kind of been at the forefront of the movement, if you will. I mean, when we look back at prior to the championship, and you're looking at where kayak fishing has come from. I mean, what are some of the things that you look back on as our humble beginnings of kayak fishing and where we come?
Well, I mean, I didn't get into. Oh, sorry, I've got this on a shooting stick. I've kayak fished for a long time before I tournament fished, and I'm a river guy. I'm happiest either in a tree stand or floating down a river fishing for smallmouth. That's where I want to be. If I could pick my favorite thing to fish for, it'd be fishing moving water on a river. But so, that being said, kind of once, of course, I've been doing this before YouTube and when everybody was on the internet all the time. But once that did start, I looked at guys which is crazy to think now, that are really close friends to mine, like Jeff Little. I learned a lot about, when I was getting into the kayak fishing of, getting out of canoe, getting into kayaks, I started researching, and that's the names that popped up, and Chad Hoover and Drew Gregory, all these names of people that now are close friends of mine that I spend time with and talk to and text, and it's just crazy. So, these are the people I looked up to in the sport of kayak fishing, and but there was many people before kayak fishing that really, my dad was the biggest influence in everything that I do as far as fishing and outdoors. He taught me everything I know about fishing. So, and he still outfishes me. He doesn't like to. I don't like to let him know that, but he still can. So he actually still, he's trying to talk me into giving him my Liska. He really likes that one. So I don't know.
That'd
He
be a good
might.
boat for him.
That's a good boat.
Yeah. He's got a original Coosa. That's what he fishes out of, and he's been in my Liska, and I think that's his favorite so far. So.
Well,
but yeah, he's fished some tournaments with me. He's fished a New River tournament I fished with Mountain State Kayak Anglers, was the first club I fished with, and so that's kind of how I got started in the tournaments. I fell in love with the community of kayak fishing when I fished my first kayak tournament probably in 2014. Me and a buddy of mine from home here, we was just kind of looking at a place to go and kind of got on the internet and was looking for some tips on where to go on the New River. And we ran across this group, Mountain State Kayak Anglers. They was having a tournament, and we just decided to go fish it. And that was, it was all uphill from there. It was over after we had one tournament on the New River. We're like, man, this is crazy. I think there was like 50 people. And I look back at some of the names that were there, and I'm like, man, I know all these people. I didn't know any of them then. I know they didn't know me, but yeah, that's how I got started in kayak fishing, and the outdoors was just, I grew up in it. Sorry, I'll ramble. I won't stop talking.
No, dude, that's absolutely fine. I can remember when Zach and I started the Bass Crazy thing. The MSK is one of the ones that really came up a lot. Yeah. I mean, it was well run. It was very popular. You guys always had probably some of the biggest turnouts for local events. I mean, it was a big deal.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet we were one of the biggest, most popular clubs back in the day when it first started. It got big quick in West Virginia and Ohio, and there's a lot of options. I'm a member of West Virginia Kayak Anglers, which is an awesome club. I'm a member of Mountain State Kayak Anglers, Southern West Virginia Kayak Anglers. And I also support the Ohio clubs, BKFT, and all those. If you want to really test your skill, fish against those guys when they're home on these home waters, and you'll humble yourself real quick. Because them guys there's some sticks in these local clubs that just win time after time after time. And honestly, there's a lot of people be real glad that a lot of them aren't fishing the national scene or they'd be coming in behind them a lot. I know I do. So anytime some of them step up and come to one of these events, I'm like, well, everybody's going to learn about this person now because they're a stick, you know. If you learn, I've always said, if you learn to fish well in West Virginia, you can fish well anywhere because, you know, we have the great smallmouth fisheries, but as far as lake fishing, going and competing on lakes and stuff, you know, we're used to struggling when we're fishing for bass on lakes. You know, some of our bigger lakes where a lot of the tournaments are held, I mean, you got to work. Did I lose you guys?
No, I lost you guys.
You're back.
Oh,
I'm back.
Okay.
Nope, you're back.
Anyway, you fish some of these, you know, fish around here. You're used to rough conditions and tough fishing, and you know, we can really shine when we go to some of these places that are. I think a lot of people don't realize how lucky they are in some of these states that have some of these amazing fisheries that they get to spend all their time on. Because, man, we go to it and we're like kids in a candy store. You know, man, we can try all these techniques.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of bodes well, really, for Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and then on. I mean, it's like we was laughing before this started. We literally have a cold front every 2 days. These fish are confused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they don't know what
every
to do.
time I go fishing, and I fish mud 90% of my time in this area. You know,
Yep.
I got a river. I got a river that runs along my property back here, and it's mud 90% of the time. So,
as do I. Going to fish a tournament there tomorrow night.
Yep. Yeah.
So let's talk about the big one, the big deal. So you have something that nobody else can ever have. You were the first.
Yeah,
you
I
were
won the first
KBF national champion.
Yeah.
You know, for the folks that don't know and maybe haven't been in the kayak fishing game, let's kind of walk through that story and kind of talk about that day and how it all went. I think he froze up on us.
Looks that way.
Oh,
there he
is. But so let's talk about that first KBF national championship and kind of walk the people that may have not been in kayak fishing at that time through that event, what it was like. I mean, it was the first one, so I mean, there was a lot of new right there.
Yeah, it was the first national. You still there?
We're here. We got you. You're back.
I said, so it was the first KBF national championship. I'd qualified for the Angler of the Year points for Mountain State Kayak Anglers the previous year, which was the first year I fished a full year of tournaments with the Mountain State Kayak Anglers, which was, I think, 2015. And anyway, qualified. And there was probably 30 guys from Mountain State Kayak Anglers that made the trip, and we got a house, got a house and just piled in it. Got a big house, and man, we had a great time. We went down there I went down there with zero expectations. Never fished Kentucky Lake. Just wanted to go fish that area. Took a week, took a few days off and head down there and put in and did what I like to do. And we found a small creek, went up in it, and I stumbled upon the mother load of big fish staging up there, and just started. I caught them. The first fish I caught on that lake was probably 7 pounds when we got there, and I'm like, wow, that's probably a fluke. And then proceeded to. Back then I didn't care about tournaments. I was just wanting to go fishing, and me and my buddy Coy and his dad, we literally sat there and laid on them for 3 days before the tournament. I mean, we were just hammering a fish. We went to another place thinking, we need to leave these alone. We might need these for a tournament, and we didn't catch anything in a couple other places. We're like, dude, let's go back here and just catch fish. So we went back here and we caught them. And tournament day, they just nonstop. It was just one of them meant to be things. We caught so many fish out of that area. It was just stupid. it was cold. It was miserable. Most people were out fishing the main lake, and we were in a protected area that had a deep channel, and them fish were moving back in there to feed to get ready for the spring. And I was just in a transition zone, and looking back, I know exactly, why they were there. But at the time, I just thought, man, this just must be one of them spots. Granted, I've fished there quite a bit over the years. I always go back there and check it out, and I don't always do very good there. But it's not that way all the time. But yeah, I think I ended up day one, and I don't even know where I was. It was 2-day. I was in the top 10, and then day two, granted, we didn't have much cell service where we were. We had to drive to find a place to load our fish, and I started talking to some people that did have cell service, and they're like, "Dude, you were up there pretty close to the lead. You might have a chance at this." I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And ended up, I'll never forget getting called back for all the interrogation before they got called back, and I'm like, dang, I must have got a check. They called me back here, and it just kept going on, and it come down to just me and two other guys for the top three, and I was the one on top by a quarter of an inch.
Wow.
By a quarter of an inch. So it changed my life as far as this sport goes. I won it out of a Jackson Coosa HD paddling. I was wearing all my hunting gear. I had zero. I didn't have two rods that were. I had a hodgepodge of just about every rod that Walmart had at that point. I had some good reels that I'd collected over the years, but rods, in a kayak, I was like, dude, we're in a kayak. I'm going to tear stuff up, so I'm not going to spend a lot of money on rods. And heck, one of the rods I used in the national championship it was missing two eyelets. I didn't care, and it was just gum boots and camo overalls and everything I could stuff on under it, because it was freezing. So it was an awesome experience, and my life changed as far as the fishing aspect of it. As far as just notoriety, and I don't really like that part, but I've been trying to really embrace it and do the best I can with that. And we'll talk about later, but one of the things I've really been kind of led to do is kind of use that platform for my faith. So that's what I want to do, use it for. So
absolutely, and that's a great thing. Now, how special do you long for the return of the Great Kentucky Lake? You've probably
it's still the way I remember it, because I don't fish the main lake when I go to Kentucky Lake. I'm a creek guy. Won't find me out on the main lake. So there's so many creeks that run into that lake, and I can find backwater that's got fish in that lake. I still love that lake. I've never fished a ledge on Kentucky Lake, so I could only imagine what it would be like if that was the way it was. I think it would be awesome, but I've never done it. So, I'm looking for the tiniest water I can find when I go there. So, it's still that way in those places. I think.
Yeah, without a doubt it is. Yeah, it's still a fun place to go. And, if you've never been to Kentucky Lake, I think everybody here would encourage you to go check it out. Those people need to see you down there. They, a lot of the big tournaments have gone away, and they need that tourism coming there. There's a lot of local towns that, in any of these fishing communities, they really thrive off of us.
The beauty of Kentucky Lake, it's a beauty, and it's also the horror of Kentucky Lake in a kayak is you can drive for 4 hours to find the spot. And I mean, that lake, it takes so long to drive around that lake eligible water during the national championship. I know I went back for one of the Hobie events a few years ago. We stayed up at the northern end of the lake, and I drove 2 hours every day to where I was fishing. It was it was stupid, but it was the only place I could find fish. It wasn't. I mean, I found good fish there. So, it's going to be a tough one this year at the national championship for that. I think a lot of people are going to have to pick an area and stick to it because we just can't afford the fuel to drive all over that place. Nothing's close. Unless you just pick a spot and just break it down. And I think that's what most people will probably need to do.
Yeah.
Now, Zach.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Now, so, when this is kind of a rogue question, but when we're looking at what you guys are out there doing, and there's a lot of you that are doing it, Jason Cassidy, one of our guests that we had on, the first guest we had on, and you and some of the others, obviously Jameson Redding, fuel prices and different things. How's that affecting your game plan for what you would typically do at some of these events?
Yeah.
Well, I like to travel. I like to have my own vehicle, and I like to be able to be flexible, but you've got to strike a balance with that now. With this, I've been really blessed with some awesome friends in this sport that I enjoy traveling with. I've traveled for a long time with a guy named Tim Isaacs from here in Ohio that used to work at the plant where I work, and we've traveled, and him and I, we've traveled a lot of these tournaments together. So it's nice, it's nice to have your own car, your own vehicle, and your own plan when you're there. But during this event, we traveled to Champlain together because it was 13 hours, and just to save money for him and me both, and and then just sharing that expense. That's about all you can do. A lot of the Lone Ranger type stuff, you're going to pay for it if you want to be by yourself. Pay more at least, but and there's people that don't have the luxury of having a network of friends that they can travel with, and I've been very blessed, that I've got some great friends and great anglers that I can travel with, and I've learned a lot from those people. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up anybody's, but I learned a lot from everybody I fish with. I'm a student of the sport, and I can name quite a few people that when I'm fishing with them, I'm paying attention because I'm learning. I learn a lot from these people, and traveling with them. When you travel with them, it's a good way to learn. And I feel like I've probably taught some things to them too. But I know I'm always. We all fish different. I attack stuff different than you would. And,
Yep.
and if we're traveling together, we're sharing information the whole time. When you're traveling, you have no choice. So, I mean, not that I don't want to share, but you're going to, if you're traveling,
right.
Yep. You both know what you're doing. So you can kind of learn what the other guys, he's doing this and I'm doing this and mine's working better than his, or I can apply my technique to the kind of fish he's looking at. And it's helped. I mean,
yep.
There's a reason why there's the same amount of people. There's a handful of people that are at the top. I mean, there's a lot of networking goes on. I mean, everybody knows it, and it's not against the law. It's just a matter of fact that people are friends, and we're like family out there. So you're traveling together, you're spending time together, you're staying together, you're eating together, and none of us are selfish. I mean, we like to share what we're doing. So,
well, and
I love that part.
That goes back to the old saying, 2 heads are better than one. I mean,
yeah,
I can agree with you in that. Me and some of my buddies, when we're out, if we're practicing, it's, the notes are always going back and forth, and it pays off. I mean, you can pick up and learn a lot real quick that way, especially, if you got one guy doing one thing, you got one guy doing it, you're just eliminating a lot of water faster a lot of times.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's a big benefit.
It's hard to progress and get better at anything if you're not learning and hungry for that information all the time.
Yeah.
So you got to look for it whenever you can get it, right?
Yep.
Now, sometimes you leave a couple details out, though.
Well,
you don't share everything.
You don't share everything.
Yeah.
I got the big one on that bait.
I'm not saying you share everything, but you learn a lot.
You definitely do. You definitely do. Now,
if you're not too stubborn to take advice, you can learn a lot. So,
absolutely.
Right.
Now, talking about kayak fishing, we're still seeing a pretty heavy, significant increase in growth of newcomers to the sport. You're obviously one of our bigger ambassadors to the sport as a whole. When you look at that and you see new people coming in, what advice do you have for the kid or the guy that's looking to get his first kayak and maybe jump in some of these things?
Well, I see people at the boat ramp every time I go out that come up and they're like, man, look at I've been blessed with an amazing pile of equipment to use, and I'll tell people, listen, this is awesome. This is great stuff, but you do not need all this to do what we're doing. You don't have to have it. Get into the sport however you can. Don't let anybody look down on you for having a Walmart kayak or whatever. We've all started somewhere, and the kayak, the gear can help increase your chances at some things, but it doesn't make you a better angler. Now, I will argue that there are some gear that you've got to have to be a better angler, rods and stuff, but certain rod, not specific brands, but just, the right action to land fish the right way and that kind of stuff. But, I'd focus more on that and having a boat that you can actually just be comfortable in. That's what I talk to a lot of people about. It's easy to look at what I've got and they immediately go, well, man, what's that cost? Well, it's probably more than they want to spend right now. But a lot of guys will go out and just sink that type of investment into a kayak and all the gear just to get started. But I don't recommend that. I recommend getting into it and dabbling in it and just making sure you like it. I know you probably will if you do it. As long as you get in a boat that's comfortable enough and stable enough that you can do what you need to do in, that's the key. I'm not going to look down upon anyone for any brand or whatever they're using. I know I have my personal preferences as to what I need to use, what I want to use, but I can tell you can fish out of about any of them nowadays, just like we were talking about with art bows. Everybody makes a good one. There's some good ones out there. I will, like I say, I argue that you do have to kind of step up a little bit in quality to have a platform to be comfortable in. There's no doubt about that. So,
yeah, and I think
you definitely sacrifice some things at different price points for sure. It's just willing, how much are you willing to sacrifice?
Yep.
Just to save a few bucks, but
exactly. And there's people that want to know exactly what you've got because they want to have what you've got. And I'll tell them what I've got and what I need, what I use and why I think it's the best equipment that I can have, but I like to preface that with, you don't have to have all this stuff. Don't let this discourage you from going to a club and joining a club and getting into the sport of kayak fishing, because there's a lot of great things about how big it's gotten, but there's also a lot of things that are bad about how big it's gotten. Yeah. If you really want to get somebody into it, I'm not going to tell them to show up to a KBF national event or a Hobie event to try their first round at this. I'm going to tell them to go to some of these local clubs and experience the camaraderie and the local, joy of fishing in the local clubs. And that's, if you can do well in those, you can do well in the national, period. It's not a training step. It's just a smaller group of closer to your home that you can try things out before you go traveling all over the country trying to do this,
And there's a lot of learning that can be done at the local level too, just fishing with your local guys.
You've got to learn how to measure fish. You've got to learn how to submit fish. You've got to learn how to really do all the little details that make you a good tournament angler. You can be a great angler and be a horrible tournament angler. If you can't pay attention to how you're submitting your fish and how you're taking your pictures and how you manage your fish on your phone. I mean,
Yep.
you can take pictures of fish all day, and then at the end of the day, you run out of time because you can't remember what fish is what.
Yep.
How to do that, how to get your system down to be a good tournament angler is the key. Not saying that you have to become a better angler to fish the national stuff. You've got to become a better management of your fishing equipment to really want to compete there, because there's no slack there. You're going to submit your fish and you're just going to be see ya.
Yep.
You're denied. You're DQ'd or whatever. And unfortunately, I know I saw that happen. Awesome guy, placed in the money. Up at. He was super awesome dude, and he ended up having to get DQ'd because of a life jacket. He forgot something. So those are the little lessons you've learned. I've learned lessons, that have taught me, what I need to keep in my brain when I'm fishing a tournament to give myself the best chance.
Very nice.
And I try to share that kind of information because most of us know how to fish. It's just all the little things, managing your time, getting to the ramp, getting back to weigh-in, getting your stuff rigged the night before, being ready, getting sleep, having everything laid out, getting your identifier cards, all those little details that people don't think about.
Yeah.
Making
sure you have your snacks in the boat.
Yeah.
You don't want to be with Zach if he forgets his snacks. I'm here to tell you.
You got to have your dude wipes. You don't want to have to,
No.
be ripping sleeves off your shirt,
Yeah.
Socks. Socks.
Yeah.
They can be beneficial if you need them.
Absolutely.
Now, big thing. So this is one of the things I want to talk to you about tonight. You're out on the road. And one of the things that you've done is you've taken the opportunity to share your faith. And you've started the Fisherman's Fellowship. Tell us a little bit about what the Fisherman's Fellowship is and how the experiences has been out there on the road for that.
Well, the Fisherman's Fellowship is not something I created. It's something that I've been a part of. It's a kind of a collaborative between a good friend of mine, Cody Prather, who is an incredible man of God in this sport that I look up to. Him and I have, I'll kind of back up. It's all started when, it all started with me when I won the national championship. I kind of felt like, I don't want to squander this. The Lord kind of spoke to me about, humility and don't let this get to your head. And don't, that's kind of what because it would be easy to, with what was thrown at me at that point, sponsors and, everybody wanting to talk to you and all your, but there was also the pressure side of, doubt in my mind, whether I deserved any of this. And, self-doubt as to, I'm probably a one-shot wonder and I'll never win another tournament. And everybody will be like, look at that guy, a lot of that kind of stuff was going through my head. And, I was really into a lot of, I really prayed about, the anxiety level I felt. A lot of people think that when you win that national championship, everything's great. Well, I left there just scared to death for a while because I knew I was no longer going to be able to show up at a tournament and not have anybody know who I was. And I was going to be judged. Not that I should care, but that's just the way we are as humans,
Yep.
I didn't want that weight on me. So I just kind of prayed about it. I'm like, Lord, what does this mean to me? What do you want me to do with this? And I didn't do it immediately, but I started out really focusing really hard on trying to prove myself as an angler when I first won it. And I wore myself out really quick trying to do that. I did really well doing that, but it was not going to be sustainable. I wasn't enjoying myself. I wasn't at home. I didn't want to sacrifice family. And, at that time I had younger kids, and I wasn't going to be away from them all the time. So, I don't know. I just kind of prayed about it and I wanted to use that platform. And, so I started posting prayers before the events on social media. And people really loved it. They're like, I really appreciate you doing that. And Chad from KBF, him and I become really good friends after the national championship, and he asked me if I would, continue that, and if I would consider being the official chaplain for KBF. And I said, well, I'm not really a chaplain, but I'm willing to be there for anybody that wants to talk or pray or anything. That's just what we do as Christians. We're there for each other. So I'll be that. I'm not going to be I'm not a preacher, but I'll be a prayer warrior with anybody if they want to talk. So that kind of snowballed in, and then about a year ago, Cody Prather called me and said, Matt, you've been on my heart, and I just wanted to tell you that God wants us to do something bigger with this. And we talked, and he's like, I think we need to make a more of a point to have fellowship together at the events. We're away for the weekend. We're not at, it's bringing people away from church. It's, gathering, because that's what the Lord really wants us. He wants us together and sharing our experiences and our faith with each other. He said, I think we should start having these at your, the events. You and I need to start really praying about doing this. So we started, we had the first big one at the NC. I think we had probably 50 some people there at the national championship. Oh, wow. And it went really well. And so, right now I'm trying to run them at any event that I'm at. Cody Prather is trying to do them at any event that he's at, and we're looking for other people that are interested and willing to, because I can't go to them all. I'm not going to go to all the events. I've got responsibilities at home. I've got responsibilities, in the sport with, some pro staff positions, and, I'm actually factory staff for a few things, and, I've got pseudo jobs with some of these things. So I've got work that I need to do because I don't want to halfway do those kind of things. So I can't fish all the tournaments. So I need other people to step up. And I think that's what I'm called to, just kind of reach out for people that, hey, if you feel like you'd like to share in this little ministry we got, I think it's something that can be really big. And it's not about Matt Ball. It's not about, it's about, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and how we're celebrating all the things that we love to do in this sport was given to us by him. He's created those for us. And, my gosh, why wouldn't we want to celebrate that? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think what you guys are doing out there on the road, man, is just, man, it's great. And, it's, I'll be heading to the water and it'll be dark, and, it never fails. It doesn't seem like that when I'm headed to the water and I flip open my phone when I get to the ramp to see all whatever's on there, and there you are. There's that morning prayer, and it's kind of, I kind of read through it, and then it's kind of, I think that's a good thing. Because there's a lot of people like that we show up to the water, we check our notifications before we jump in the water, and then there that is, right there first thing early in the morning, and I think that's a good thing to see before any of us head out. That's whether
I'm gonna start singing the national anthem too, but that's
I'm gonna miss that one, Matt. I haven't heard you sing. I'm not judging you singing, but I'm gonna miss that one. So we've got this little thing that we usually do here about halfway, 3/4 of the way through the podcast. Unfortunately for you, it's called 5 questions.
All right.
And it's just really random. You answer them however you want to. Some of them come from the audience.
All right.
If we ain't got a bunch of them from the audience, then I'll make them up. And it has this weird music. See, it gets weird.
It's not nearly as awkward when we're not in the same room. So
yeah.
No, Leon Phelps was last week.
Yeah. It got weirder last week.
Yeah.
It did.
Or 2 weeks ago.
It's the Jackson kayak team in me. Okay, this is from Nick Brummett. What is one of the things that you don't leave the house out without when you head on the road, besides your Bible, obviously?
Well, honestly, with tournament fishing, it's my cell phone. You're not going to fish a tournament without your cell phone. I'll be honest with you. That's I'd have to go home if I forgot that. So, and that's what we that's what we do our social media with. That's what we research with. It's the tool that's why I tell everybody, stay update on your cell phones, because it's your lifeline as a tournament angler. It's what you're getting your updates with. It's what you're submitting your fish with. It's everything, really.
Yeah,
your cell phone
and a good backup battery.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I carry my Dakota Lithium power box with me everywhere I go. So.
And those dudes are handy.
Yeah.
Question number 2 tonight, coming to you from Jason Cassidy Fishing. If heaven was a body of water and the fishing fellowship had to have a derby every day for an eternity, where would you want that to be?
This is going to be a weird one for you, but
no, that's fine. Throw it at us.
I'd say the South Branch of the Potomac River in Romney, West Virginia. I don't know what it is.
Mike Iaconelli.
No, we're talking the South Branch of the Potomac. This is whitewater, the trough, the river, ravines, and just, I don't know. It's just beautiful. It's moving water. It's just my happy place when I'm on the water, when I'm in the river.
Very nice.
It'd be on a river. It'd be in a river, and it'd be smallmouth.
I don't argue with this at all.
Yeah.
I think the Lord would approve. Excuse me.
That's why he made them gold.
That's why he did make them gold. I like the way you think. Question number 3. This one always comes up. What is the weirdest thing that has happened to you out on the road? Strangest encounter.
I'm sure I got a good one, but I'm trying to put me on the spot. Let me think. Man, it's really hard to think with that stupid music in my ears.
I know. It's like a great equalizer.
Oh, man.
I don't know about strange, but I mean, I travel with some pretty strange characters, so it's hard to tell. So I broke down. Me and Russell Johnson were coming back from Lake Champlain last year and lost the idler pulley on my truck in 90-degree weather, and we had to change it on the road. That was a lot of fun, and a lot of burnt skin and knuckles.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a good time.
That's not a weird thing. That was just a memory, but there's a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I can't think of anything right now.
No good Jameson stories for today. Jameson stories.
I did just about watch Jameson snap his leg in half.
Oh,
I heard about that.
I don't know.
Sounded like it got bad.
I don't know how he didn't snap his leg clear in half. I thought we were heading to the emergency room. That was bad. And I'm the one that shoved him off the trailer, so it would have been,
Question number 3. Bucket list location. What's still on the bucket list?
Still on the bucket list. I've never fished Lake Fork. I'd like to go to Lake Fork in the spring when they're on fire.
Yeah.
I've never been there.
I haven't either. It'd be definitely a good one.
And then maybe Clear Lake. I think that's a neat area. I'd like to go to California and fish some of those big bass waters over there someday.
Yeah.
You let me know. I'll bring Clyde the Glide. And,
kitchen fish.
Clyde the Glide.
Clyde the Glide, and we'll go.
Dudes up in the 13+ pound greenmouth.
Yeah, guarantee it. It'll catch a 2-pound greenmouth, believe it or not.
Yep.
Actually, the first thing I caught on it was about a 2-pound greenmouth. My wife goes, "Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because he could.
Because
Yep.
he could. All right. Fifth and final question for tonight. Gosh. Favorite Jackson kayak of all time?
Yeah.
Right now, the Nar.
Very nice. Good
But
answer.
I'm going to actually, that's my favorite one right now. But if I honestly had to go to my favorite of all time, it's going to probably have to be the Coosa HD, because that's what I won the national championship in. It'll always hold a special place in my heart, and it's an awesome riverboat.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Good hit the bag in.
First Jackson kayak I ever bought too. So
Yeah.
I bought that kayak the year before I went to the national championship, and it was awesome.
There you guys have it. That's been 5 fire round questions with Matt Ball. I don't know what that was about, but she's on the move.
On the frets.
On the fritz. So let's jump back into things. Now you are fresh off before. I mean, you've got kind of 2 back-to-back successful events. You was at Chickamauga,
Yeah.
And then you're right back at Champlain.
Mm-hmm.
You have competed in the new NAR.
Yep.
Let's give the people some some insight on this boat, and talk a little bit about how our core group brought this boat to life with the help of R&D and just everything that went into it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was honored to be a part of the group that got to really put our heads together and kind of give input on what we wanted. And a group of awesome guys from the team. And, we wanted a boat that we could feel like we all wanted a little bit of different things probably, but what I wanted was a tournament boat that I could load down with all the gear I wanted. I could rig it out with my electronics easily. I wanted one that I could, hold my batteries and hold all my gear. And I wanted internal rod storage. I wanted a pedal drive that was reliable and fast. And I wanted a boat that, I could pretty much rig up however I wanted for spending long days on the water and, in big water, because I might be fishing a river, or Lake Champlain, Lake Erie. I fish all those lakes, and you got to have a boat that you can rely on and that you can trust for that. And that's what we got. I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with it.
And one of the things that me and Matt were talking about before the podcast, and it's kind of the question that I asked to, any teammate that when we're talking, it's, the pictures you guys see, we've posted a lot of great pictures of the NAR, but if you have not seen this boat in person, I think Matt, or any other of the team, Jackson Kayak team members would go look at it.
Yep. You won't be disappointed. It's a great platform. It really is. And I'll tell you another thing that's it's designed to do, and that is handle a Torqeedo motor really well, easily. And it does an incredible job with the Torqeedo on it, and it's fast. So, let's face it, with what we do in this sport, yes, we're idiots. We strap everything on them we can, and we go big or go home. And a lot of, if you go to these tournaments, you're going to look at these boats and be like, oh my gosh, what do you need all that stuff for? Well, we probably don't, but we want it on there, so we do it, but it's an incredible platform for a bow mount trolling motor with spot lock. It's an incredible platform for a trolling motor on the back, or a Torqeedo on the back. And, it's whatever you want it to be as far as a big water boat to handle the gear. It works, and it's a beautiful boat. It really is. I mean, it's laid out nice. It's comfortable. It's a great platform to spend a day in, and I've spent 2 weeks straight in it this last 2 weeks. So, I'll be honest with you, I I'd spent some time in the prototype and doing some filming for the photo for the release and everything, and been a part of all the conversation and knew what we had, but I hadn't got to put all my gear in it and just spend a tournament doing what we do in it. And I did that the last 2 weeks, and hey, it seems to be working. I ended up in the top 5, so both times. So I feel like it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's with prototype gear and stuff like that, and design input. It's one thing to kind of put your hands on them and all that, but once you kind of get it rigged the way you want it, and get to live in it for a little bit, you really start kind of picking it apart and finding the things you do or don't like about it. So that it makes a huge difference.
I'm always hesitant to do. I wanted to get a walkthrough video. I wanted to do a rigging video, but I'm always hesitant to put that out. Because I'll look back and, I mean, some of my rigging videos from my big rig when I first did it, it's got the most views of anything I've got on YouTube, period. And then I look back at it now and I'm like, dude, I changed a lot of that after I spent some time on it, So people take what we say in this sport a lot of times to heart. So you don't want to give them false information. You don't want to tell them, on a YouTube video that this is how I'm going to rig it, until that's really how it should be, because you'll something that looks good in the garage, when you go out there and you start fishing and trying to land fish and spend a day in it, you're like, that's in my way. And that's the beauty of the NAR. That's the beauty of that NAR, is you can pretty much tweak everything on that boat anywhere with that tri-track, the full length of that boat. So it's not like you're having to mount track anywhere. You can just, all right, well, that's really not exactly where I want it. All I got to do is loosen it, slide it forward. And now when you go drilling holes, you're a little more careful about what you're doing, just because you don't want to have wires running that's in your way. But honestly, this boat is by far the easiest boat I've ever rigged, and I've rigged a lot of kayaks over the years. So
hard to move holes once you go drilling holes and something.
No, it is.
It
is.
You mentioned the big rig, and I mean, that was one of the first boats from Jackson. Chad and I got to put hands on. He got to spend a lot of time in it, and knowing that this boat, is essentially taking its place. What are your feelings on that? You think it was a good move?
Yeah, I love the big rig, but the big rig was designed. I could kind of look at this. Here's what I described to a couple of people I talked to. The big rig still has its place. It's not for rough water because of the low gravity. But if you are fishing flat water and you are a big guy and you want an absolute platform that is just like a John boat, that boat is. You can do stupid things in that boat. Now, you really can.
You can get away with a lot.
You can get away with a lot. The NAR is still that way, but it's got a lot. It's got different stability. So you spend a little time in it, and you've got to get your center figured out to where, because that's why it turns so well. That's why it handles so well. That's why it slices through the waves so well. It's still a massively stable boat, but it's not a John boat. And the reason it's not a John boat is we wanted it to turn, and we wanted it to maneuver, and we wanted it to handle. And you can turn this boat around in half the amount of space that the big rig would turn around in. And it tracks beautifully with when you're pedaling and when you're fishing, and you can move it with just a little bit of rudder movement will kind of bring your nose around when you're just kind of drifting down a bank. It was really nice to see. And I did stupid things in that boat this week. So you can do stupid things in it too. I'm not a little guy. So, I fighting smallmouth and trying to land smallmouth and reaching around and trying to get rods and, staying out of trees. It'll handle a good bit of stupidity.
And I think that's a big thing. What you said, even And you know how this is, I'm sure, when you're bouncing back and forth through some, and you do the same thing I do. You'll bounce from, say, the big rig to Alaska or vice versa. It
Hmm.
You've always find that center of the playfulness
Hmm.
of the boat,
Yeah.
and once you
Yeah.
get that playfulness of the boat dialed in, and it's
Your
you
body
forget it.
adjusts to it, and
Yeah,
it's just not a thought anymore. You just catch yourself. But don't be alarmed. Anybody that goes out there and that's been in a big rig and they want to go out and test the NAR, don't feel like it's not stable.
no,
The immediate response is going to be like, oh, this thing's got a little more tippiness to it. It doesn't. It's actually got a lot of stability to it. It's just the hull is maneuverable now. It's not a flat bottom boat, John boat like we have. I mean, the big rig's still maneuvered, but I just liken the two to that. That's the difference I see.
well, and even fishing, like you said, like Alaska, a bite and stuff like that, and coming back down to a boat like that, and just having that little bit of sporty play.
Hmm.
And the Liska and the bite are probably, they're a little bit still flat on the bottom, but
Hmm.
you can always feel they're a little bit more playful, and it's a lot
Yeah,
of fun. And the
it
NAR
is.
having that capability to
Hmm.
have that little playfulness of a kayak it's
Yep.
nice.
Yep. And you notice it once you get your body gets in it, and you're like, all right, yep. You just kind of realize you don't think about it anymore, and
Yep.
you adjust your hips and your the way you set in your boat and the way you pedal, but it pedals great.
Yes.
It's fast. I was really glad the first event that I got to fish out of that was in a Hobie event where I could not use my motor. And I spent a lot of time pedaling that thing, and it was great. So,
Absolutely. And the Flex Drive Mark IV is a very big testament
yep.
to how far things have come.
Yep.
For those of you that don't know, it's all a package that you guys need to go check out with your local dealer and experience tenfold,
Yep.
to
Yep.
really see what the boat offers, and even try out the Kusa HD and the or Kusa FD and the Bite FD,
Hmm.
and give those a whirl with the new Mark IV, because it's changed those boats as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's changed them a lot. We picked up just slow pedaling. We picked up a half mile an hour in the Bite FD, just like
Yeah.
that, not even trying. So
Yeah.
imagine if you're trying, you're gonna pick up quite a bit. Um, Now you have come to Indiana. You
Hmm.
won here right here on my
Yep.
home
I
water.
won.
You
I
won.
won there.
And we didn't get a meetup, which was probably a good thing because
Yeah.
I had COVID the next day. So, um, how much fun is Indiana fishing, Matt?
I loved it. I tell you what,
Felt at home, didn't you?
I did. I did. It was muddy. It was. I went up a creek and went way up a creek and threw a buzz bait and a Senko and got onto them. It was awesome.
Oh man, you made a lot of people happy with that one, man. That's usually what my buddies fish around, and I'm usually like, no, I can't do that. Got to throw 10-inch worm.
Nope.
Yeah.
I threw a buzz bait. If they missed it, I threw a Senko in and caught him. It was awesome. It was absolutely a blast.
And I tell you what, man, that lake can be. We had that at the right time. That lake had been on a awesome just movement. They drained the water down. We had a lot of current running through. We had bags, and I'll never forget it, man, because we had like 27, 25, 22s. I mean, just winning every tournament every weekend for like that whole month. And then it was like the kayak tournament, and I was just like, please, just let this hold on just one more week. And
Yeah.
obviously it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't help having, yeah, that was a gross day.
It was hot if I remember,
It was
miserable hot.
very warm, and certain things like COVID in your stomach was not a pleasant thing.
No,
Those dude
no.
wipes were handy.
I actually moved ramps that day. I remember. That was a great trip. Stayed with Jackson Orr
Yep.
and Cody Milton. We stayed at a friend of their family had a little farm there with a pole building, and it had a camper inside of a pole building, and I slept in my
Mhm.
truck. And I remember I won the first day, and
Yep.
I actually was only going to fish one day because of just how hot and miserable it was. And I was sleeping in my truck, and decided, might as well go again. And Cody Milton, I forget what time it was, but we both fell asleep. He fell asleep in his van. I fell asleep in my truck. He woke me up about an hour after lines in. I was still asleep in my truck that second day.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I just wasted the whole morning. I didn't even think he was going to go fishing. And he ended up going out and winning it the day too, after
Yep.
he slept in all day. So we had a good trip.
And that's the way to do it. If you can sleep in a little bit and then go out there and
Yeah.
put the hurt on everybody.
I don't like that. I want to be out there ready. I got to be one of the first ones at the ramp and be sitting there,
Well,
getting
when
my
it's
head on straight.
That's
when
the
it's
way we
hot
used
like
to run.
it is.
We used
Go
to run
ahead.
tournaments that way. We'd launch boats and then go get breakfast and then come back and start
Yeah.
fishing.
Look at us now.
Yeah.
Podcast host. See where it got us?
Yeah, not very far.
Not very far. We're still podcast hosts. So what do you see in what's the future for Matt Ball look like? What are you thinking?
Well, I'm gonna keep doing this as long as the good Lord lets me. I want to keep traveling as much as I can. I'm really looking forward to, when I've got, 3 of my kids are graduated and out of college and out of high school, and one's working, and they're all working now. And then my daughter is a junior in high school. Once she gets through, I'd like to see my wife and I hooking up at camper and going to these events and just spending a lot of time just together. And I'm tired of being away from her for these, but she's back here keeping things going at home, and I think it'll be really enjoyable when I can take her and we can just make it I don't feel like I'm leaving home when I do this. So we love to camp. We love to camp anyway. So that's kind of always been our dream, is to do a lot of traveling. I'm a far away from retirement age, but I wouldn't mind hanging up the hard hat at DuPont a little earlier than and doing this more someday.
Absolutely.
See the country a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Matt, it is now 7 minutes past the hour, and James gets mad at me when I go past an hour. I get a text. But we try to keep all our guests at an hour. We know you guys got stuff to do. So what we're going to do is give you a minute, thank everybody you need to thank, tell people where to find out more about Matt Ball, the Fisherman's Fellowship.
Well, you can find join the fish. Get on Facebook and type in Fisherman's Fellowship. Join there. You can follow along with. We have devotionals. Once I get slowed down from the traveling and get back on my feet at home here after 2 weeks on the road, I'm gonna start doing some video devotionals. That kind of thing. My buddy Cody, he's already doing a lot of writing for there. But we just wanted to make it to be a place where you can go and get some encouragement. It's on Facebook. You can find me on, under Matt Ball on Facebook, and M-Ball T-Ball on Instagram. It's where I've got all my stuff there. And then Matt Ball Outdoors on YouTube. I don't put a lot of stuff on YouTube just because I'm too busy right now. I've got miles and days of video to do with someday, but who knows. But I want to thank, first of all, Jackson Kayak and Orion Coolers, but Jackson has been a part of me. It's family. Jackson is the only kayak company I've ever been a part of, and will be. It's just their family. I feel like a part of it. I feel ownership, and that's what you want in a partnership with a company that you believe in. And I really appreciate the support they give me. And I'm proud of everybody on our team. I'm proud of all the tournament guys out there, and all the guys out there, not just tournament guys, but I really love seeing our tournament guys out there, competing and kicking tail. We got some of the best anglers in the sport on our team, and they're a family, and I love them all. So you guys are awesome. I want to thank Torquedo. Torquedo is a big part of what I do. The pro staff manager for team manager for Torquedo. So Torquedo is another family to me. They've been a part of me since after the national championship as well. So I want to thank Fishing Online. Fishing Online is where they are. And you're going to see a little theme here with a lot of my sponsors, and that is family. They all feel like family to me, and that's why I'm with them. Fishing Online is, based out of Pennsylvania. They were a part of first thing I ever won in a kayak tournament was supplied by Fishing Online at a river bassin event in Parkersburg, West Virginia. So, they're John and Seth from Fishing Online. They're friends of mine, and I just think the world of them. NRS has been with me for a long time, and they keep us all safe out on the water. Z-Man Plastics, what can I say about that? Everything I fish, they're amazing. 13 Fishing, all my rods and reels. Dakota Lithium is, honestly, you look at these kayaks we're using, you got to have a good battery. You got to have a battery that is going to last and that you can rely on. And Dakota Lithium makes the best battery out there, and it's they keep me on the water on and off, for when I'm camping and everything. Bending Branches been a big part of what I do as well. And then Yak Attack. We like to rig these boats to the hilt, and the Yak Attack gives us the ability to do it. That we're just loaded down with things, and it gives us they call it rig your dream, and that's what we do. So. Yep. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting somebody. I want to thank KBF for the opportunities they've given me in the sport, and I also want to thank the Hobie Bass Open Series. They run a great event. They have a great series. Check them out. Check KBF out. And check your local clubs out. So support them, because that's where it's all at. But thank you guys for having this, and I'd be happy to be on here anytime. So maybe have me on here in the fall, and I'll do a hunting episode for you. So
we would love to do that. We would love to.
Yes, sir.
But before I let you go, we've got a little bit of business that we're going to handle on Thursday night as well.
Yeah,
we're going to start a new thing. It's called Jackson Kayak Dock Talk. We're going to be chatting it up with some of you tournament anglers, and basically getting into the nuts and bolts about each and every event that you guys are at, and just kind of have a little tailgate session around the Orion cooler about each of those events. You guys will be able to find that on the Jackson Kayak Fishing Facebook page. We probably won't go to our YouTube page right away, but you can definitely find it there as far as the new Dock Talk goes. We're not calling it a podcast. It's Dock Talk. We're just going to go over the nuts and bolts. So, but with that, Matt will be our guest on Thursday night as well with Josh and Adam.
The Hammer Stork.
The Hammer crew. All right, Matt. Well, we're going to let you go. Just hang out for a second. We're going to close this thing out, and we'll be right back with you, man.
All right.
Thanks sir.
Guys.
Thank you. Another good one.
Another good one. Episode number 10. Happy anniversary to our listeners. Thank you guys for getting us to episode 10. We appreciate y'all. We like seeing our regulars over there in the comments side to the side. You guys mean a lot to us, and we're excited to see this thing continue to grow. Yeah,
viewership and numbers are growing a little bit with each episode, and downloads are coming in, so it's always good to see.
Yep. And for those of you guys that don't catch us on Facebook Live and YouTube, you can check us out on Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Google Podcast. So I think that's all of them. Yeah, that's what we got right now. We're not wise enough to figure out iTunes. So to all you guys out there in the iTunes land, it's legitimately our fault. We're trying, but
not as easy as we'd like it to be. But
next podcast for the Orion podcast will be on the 28th of June. So until then, we'll see you guys.
Have another Jeeping trip to talk about. So
have another Jeeping trip to talk about. But we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you on the 28th. Bye-bye.
Later.